It's been 74 years since the end of World War II, yet one Tennessee man by the name of David Landreth has since found the buried shreds of a crashed plane in his great-grandfather's backfield.
Our hayfield at that time, probably a mile long, so they used that as a runway. And my great grandfather said he would go out in the field and see planes hitched out next to the fence just like horses. And he said this one day they were doing their maneuvers, and I was always under the impression that the plane took off from the field, but it did not. Like we found out, it came from Chattanooga, and it was doing its maneuver and went straight into the ground.
Throughout David's childhood, his great-grandfather would always tell him the story, but never showed him exactly where the plane had crashed.
He said that it was buried there, and he pointed over there. So we were kind of vague in finding it.
It wasn't until David talked to his neighbor Charles that he really started to wonder if there was anything underneath the field.
Charles and I were working on a fence one day, and Charles comes up and he says, "Hey, do you know the story of the plane?" And I said, "Yes, I do." "Do you know where it is?" I said, "I know about where it is." And I got within 150 yards. Keith and Charles went out with a metal detector, started digging. About 3 days later, they say, "Hey, we found it." Charles called me at home one night, and he said, "We found it."
The family's nickname for the field behind their home proves to be right.
My whole life, we've called the field where it's at the airplane field for this reason. And I never thought about digging anything out until Charles and Keith and I got together, and Keith being a buff, so to speak, and found it.
I asked David if his great-grandfather was still alive to this day. What would he say based on their recent discovery?
Knowing him, it would be, "I told you it was there." That's just knowing him. He had that dry sense of humor.
David told me that he has not yet reached out to the museum in his county, but he plans to surprise them by donating portions of the buried plane.
First thing Charles and Keith says, "What are you going to do?" I said, "Part of it's going to the museum." I said, "Other than that, I don't care."
As for now, Keith and Charles will continue to dig and research any more parts of the plane that they continue to find. For NCTV News, I'm Jonathan Perez.